The chancellor asked me to head up this task force, and basically the task force was charged with the following challenge, and that was number one, to see how we could get students back to campus for the fall semester, and number two, to do that as safely as possible. We know from talking to students that they really do enjoy the campus experience and look forward to it. And while the university system made a very successful switch to online education during this COVID crisis, students really enjoy the mentoring of being with their professors and the comradeship of being with colleagues on campus. So we were charged with trying to facilitate that process, but in the safest way possible. So what we did was we looked at the policies, practices, and procedures throughout the university system so that we could bring them together so that all 11 institutions could profit from the efforts of each individual institution. An important part of this, as the chancellor mentioned, is a testing strategy. So why do we need to do widespread testing, especially of students, but also faculty and staff? Well, one of the prime reasons is our students will be returning to campus from near and far. So at UND, for example, we don't have students coming just from the Grand Forks region, but also beyond that. And with all of these students coming together and then living in close proximity to each other, that is actually a perfect recipe for the transmission of the disease. So what do we do to try to prevent that? Well, we do all of the common sense things that the governor and the chancellor talked about. The physical distancing, the wearing of masks, the frequent hand washing, etc. But also, it's critically important to try to identify and then isolate any student or faculty or staff who tests positive for the disease. Why is testing so important? Well, roughly 40% of people may be able to transmit the COVID virus and yet have no symptoms whatsoever. So we can check their temperature and the temperature will be normal. And we talk to them and they won't have symptoms, and yet they can get their neighbors, friends, colleagues, teachers sick by transmitting the disease. So if you don't know that you have the disease, the only way of identifying it is through testing. So through the leadership of the North Dakota Department of Health, there will be widespread testing throughout the state of North Dakota in the days leading up to the opening of the campuses the third week in August. And we are encouraging all students, along with faculty and staff, to engage in this testing. It has run very smoothly throughout the state, and we think the students, along with faculty and staff, will find it to be a relatively easy process. And the important thing, again, is not only are you doing something for yourself, more importantly, you're doing something for your fellow students, for your teachers, and for the community. So I like the term that the governor uses for this, the smart restart. Yes, we need to restart. We need to bring students, faculty, and staff back to campus, but we need to do it in a smart way so that we don't endanger each other.